This show is going to be unbelievable. I noticed it during the debate yesterday between Panama City Beach Mayor Mark Money Mover Sheldon and his opponent. There's a real race. The election is in 2 weeks, February, April 16, and early voting begins at the Lindell Senior Center on the 8th, I believe. And I don't know if the mail-in ballots have started yet, but what you're going to see tonight, is why the Bay County Republican Party of Florida endorsed Stuart Tettemer over Mark Sheldon. It is because Mark Sheldon, although a registered Republican, is a crony Republican. He's like Jeb Bush. He's like Mitt Romney. Okay. He's like the local Republicans in office, not the local Republican Party. Now, I am an independent. I have divorced the Republican Party twice because they are not liberty-minded enough for me. And I don't do well tied down, I suppose. But this is going to be a very big deal. And I have a feeling that because of the subject matter, basically Mark Sheldon, who is the current mayor in Panama City Beach, taking the Joe Biden position. This is unbelievable what you're going to see. Taking the Washington, D.C. position over locals is going to blow your mind. You're going to see it. You're going to hear Mark Sheldon say it. He's going to say the quiet part out loud. All of the hotels and all of the affordable housing, it's not for you. It's for the migrant workers. It's just like in New York. In New York City, the big famous Legacy Roosevelt Hotel, that is it's housing migrants. It's the same thing. They get grants to house migrants. Only it's a better deal for Mayor Mark Sheldon. He says we need more hotels and more apartments for migrant workers because he says it, because they pay the hotels, they pay a bed tax, and it's a great revenue stream for the city. Incidentally, that bed tax he's talking about is exactly where he gets the $1 million a year or more over the past 9 years to run Gulf Coast Jam. The bed tax, more than $10 million of bed tax money has gone to Mayor Mark Money Mover, you see why I call him that, Sheldon's companies, because our mayor also owns Gulf Coast Jam, which they moved to the summertime to benefit him, not the people. It puts too much strain and traffic, strain on our infrastructure during the summertime. It's supposed to take place in September, but Mayor Sheldon negotiated with Mayor Sheldon. Let me say that more correctly. The concert promoter, Mayor Sheldon, negotiated with Mayor Sheldon, and they moved it. And then Mayor Sheldon prioritized a pedestrian walkover bridge from Aaron Besson Park to Frank Brown Park to benefit his business, Gulf Coast Jam. Should we have a mayor that has gotten more than $10 million of startup money since 2015? He brags all the time about taking Gulf Coast Jam to the next level, says it's sold out. He gives a bunch of tickets to the sheriff so that he doesn't get in trouble after he got indicted by the FBI. Evidently, the FBI likes tickets too. You're not going to believe what I'm going to show you. The conflicts of interest are off the chain. And Miss Sarah Moon has been telling me for years that this was their plan. Also, by the way, part of the plan, there was a big news story a couple of weeks ago. The Joe Biden administration is pumping federal money into what they call paths across America. So if you wonder about all of these multi-use pathways that are supposed to connect Panama City to Panama City Beach and then over to start going toward Walton County, that will require eminent domain, they don't give a damn about that. They don't care about property rights. They care about federal money, Biden priorities, migrant housing, and hotel developers. In Panama City, William Harrison, the kingpin over there, the St. Joe lobbyist, the former St. Joe lobbyist, the guy that pulls all the strings, especially for Josh Street. I mean, this guy's pushing. He's now a developer, by the way. He was just a lawyer, the biggest and lobbyist. Now he's a developer. After James Finn, after Derwin White died, who was the president of GAC Contractors, and after Sheriff Tommy Ford tried to throw James Finch in prison for life, that freed up a lot of developers. Incidentally, William Harrison was Sheriff Tommy Ford's campaign manager in 2020. But I don't want to get into that right now. So what I'm going to show you right now, I have a feeling Facebook will sort of shadow ban. They won't show people notifications. But it is so important that people see what I'm going to show you tonight. So if you can share it or tag people, tag your friends. You say, Bernie, I don't live in Panama City Beach, but still, your friends who do will see this. They have to know what you're about to see. So I really hope that you'll do your part. And I'm going to show you this shocking footage from the debate last night at the Bay County League of Women Voters.
Strong, effective leadership. 3 words that could mean the difference between prison and your freedom. I'm Al Saulene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. Right. So if Miss Sarah Moon, the brains behind the outfit, if you're watching, help me a little bit explain. See, people think I joke when I say she's the brains behind the outfit. I'm just the arm candy. It's true. It's half true. She has been telling me this for so long. So if you can help fill in the, there we go. If you can help me fill in the sort of the empty parts when I get home. She says, most of it was empty parts. But here's your whiskey. And I say, good, baby. Give me a kiss and everything's going to be all right. All right. So there's a question that was asked to the candidates at the debate yesterday. And it was at the Bay County League of Women Voters. And the perfect person to ask the question was Scott Clemens at the League of Women Voters. Sorry. I cannot. Scott Clemens used to be the Panama City mayor. And he's a Democrat. He's and I usually don't talk about Democrat, Republican. I already told you I'm neither. But I will tell you that the crony Republicans like the Mark Sheldons and the Jeb Bush types and the Mitt Romney types and the what the hell's her name? See, I don't even follow national politics that much. The Cheney's wife, all these people, they're the crony people. And I'm just so mad about them. That's Scott Clemens and these guys. So Scott Clemens asks about affordable housing. What are you going to do about affordable housing? Well, you're going to hear Stuart Tettemer say, and I wrote some of it down. And I want to read you what they say so that you can, because the audio is kind of echoey. All right. Stuart says something about, and I wrote it down. These are exact quotes. He says, well, he brings up the visa workers, the migrant workers. Okay. And he says, those temporary jobs that you see all over the place now used to be filled by high school students, says Stuart Tettemer. Now we see them mostly filled by visa workers. Those visa workers, good folks, they're trying to make some money and send it back home, but they're not trying to build a life here. They're here for a little while and they're trying to leave. If we have more year-round jobs, that will allow us to have folks able to afford homes here. And he also talks about, Stuart Tettemer, about stopping this increase in assessments, in the fire assessments and the water assessments. And boy, if Mark Sheldon is elected again in 2 weeks, the corporate, you talk about a corporate hellhole and the rise of cost of living for the locals, the residents. See, that's Stuart Tettemer's whole campaign, is locals first. And I cannot believe Mark Sheldon said the quiet part out loud. Here's what Mark Sheldon says. I'm not going to sit up here and say visa workers don't want to make a home here. To me, everybody who comes to Panama City Beach, the same way we all came to Panama City Beach, we all made it our home because we realize what this community has to offer. So I'm not going to say a visa worker doesn't want to make a home here. I wholeheartedly disagree with that statement. And again, he says, I think it goes to some of the things we talked about, which is building those relationships that matter. You're not going to believe the relationships that matter. Whether it's in Washington, D.C., or and looking at the funding that we absolutely talked about, says Sheldon, but he says it a lot faster than that. To say how we can create a partnership with someone who wants to take the land that they have and potentially look at moving forward on building some affordable housing, who wants to take the land that they have and potentially moving forward, Obama stuff. And then he says the cost of land continues to skyrocket in Panama City Beach. We've seen that. Everybody's property value has increased tremendously in the last 3 or 4 years. And so therefore property value has increased drastically as well. So trying to find someone to give some of that land up. He says, we see one hotel on the west end of the beach now that used to be a church retreat. There's a business who owns that now, who's using it for employee housing. I know Pineapple Willie, when he was alive, was looking to do the same thing. He was building employee housing. So we're seeing more companies, so they do have a work crew. So the workforce has a place to stay and live and be part of our community. You know, while they're doing that, you look at the house, the church, that's a hotel. They're paying a bed tax revenue all the time for that. So it's an asset for the city, but at the same time, it's housing people who have an opportunity to do something. Mark Sheldon is unequivocally migrants first, big hotel developers first. You, resident, voter, local, you are merely an asset. You're a resource to be drained. All right, now show us. Wow, this is so crazy, man. This is wild. All right. Hold on, I gotta pull up the there we go. All right, here we go. Before, I'm not going to show you an ad, although I need more. Okay. I'm going to show you who this Stuart Tettemer is, right? I've already told you a little bit about him. He graduated from an Ivy League college. He's a software engineer. He's the most qualified. He's 40 years old, very successful. And he moved here 3 years ago, bought a couple of homes. His parents live in the neighborhood with him. He's very big into the neighborhood. And he's looking around going, geez, man, this place is just like, it's not, everything's hurting locals. Everything's hurting residents. 4 more years of this, and I'm not going to be able to live my life here with the corporate hellhole stuff going on. So this is who he is, a very short clip from his Facebook page. And if you want to learn more about him, it's stuartforpcb.com, stuartforpcb.com. But here he is. Let me show you this real quick first. Here he's talking about, it's a short clip about what I was just telling you about. He calls it smoothing out the season, but rather than moving all the events to summer so that you're trapped in your home during that 3 months with traffic so bad you can't even make a left turn. Here's what he has to say about that.
And if there's such a focus on tourism, That's why I've been talking about rebalancing in favor of locals. We want to make sure, we want to keep the tourism industry healthy, but it's a mix. That's the economic part. There's also the living part. There's the people who live here and who have day-to-day quality of life issues. They need to be taken care of too.
All right, so that's Stuart Tettemer. Now let's go to the debate. And you're going to hear Scott Clemens, the former mayor of Panama City, at the Florida the Bay County League of Women Voters. And the perfect question asker is, of course, Scott Clemens, the former mayor of Panama City. And here we go. I cannot believe this. I can't believe he said it. All right, so it's a little echoey, so don't give me a hard time about that. But here you go. I'm gonna try to figure out how to make it louder. Hold on. I can tell it's not loud enough. First thing I want to do is try to also make this bigger. Okay, let me see if I can figure out how to make this louder.
What would you do to expand opportunities for affordable housing? Would you consider greater use of Sadowski funds, or possibly working with developers to provide some additional housing opportunities?
So I've lived in a few places around the U.S., and the affordable housing issue is a problem across this country. When you put below market housing, what happens is you end up having a lottery and it just fills up. That's part of having this experience, means that I've seen these issues, and I've seen them attempted to be addressed throughout the nation, and I've seen what works and what doesn't. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the best thing that works is making sure we have good.
So the question asked was, what would you do about affordable housing? I know that the volume is low. I just don't think I can do anything about it. It's just the way it was recorded. Okay. It was recorded off of a cell phone. So what would you do about affordable housing is the question. Each of them are going to give you about a 2-minute answer, 3-minute answer. You're just going to have to do your best to hear this, but it is so important. You've got corporate America on your left, migrants first, hotel developers first on your left. The guy who is also the mayor and the Gulf Coast Jam owner. It's unbelievable. And then you've got a citizen who actually quit his extremely high-paying, great job and is funding his own campaign to try to save this town. Watch this.
Year-round jobs here. One of the big issues we have is we have a big peak of a tourist season, which means we only have temporary jobs here. Those temporary jobs used to be filled by high school students. Now we see them mostly filled by visa workers. Those visa workers, good folks, they're trying to make some money and send it back home, but they are not trying to build a life here. They're here for a little while, they're trying to leave. If we have more year-round jobs, that will allow us to have folks be able to afford the homes here. The other thing is making sure that we're not increasing assessments. The fire assessment has gone up. Taxes have gone up. Don't let anyone tell you that taxes have gone down. You see it in your tax bill. It's just a talking point. So keeping assessments low and avoiding overdevelopment in terms of building tons of city infrastructure.
Look at Sheldon's face.
We're going to have to pay to maintain for 10, 20, 30 years. It feels really nice to get a grant to bring that infrastructure in, but if you don't have the revenue to maintain that infrastructure, you're setting up a time bomb that maybe you as a politician won't have to take care of, but the people who live here will.
Thank you, Scott. Again,
notice another difference between the two of them. Stuart Tettemer addresses the people there. Sheldon, of course, addresses Scott Clemens, the former mayor of Panama City. It's a small but interesting nuance.
A good question from the standpoint that we understand the affordable housing crisis. Again, I know Stuart lived in California. You probably saw it a lot out there.
All right. I just have to point out the snark. This guy fled Alabama when his business partner had to go to prison, and he came here in 2015, and he has gotten taxpayer money to run Gulf Coast Jam and Sand Jam every year since 2015. And the little snark, I know, because see, Stuart helped start up companies in California. He grew up in Kissimmee, Florida, got his Ivy League degree from Cornell University, lived around the country. But Sheldon's trying to say, yeah, this California liberal guy, look, he's endorsed by the Bay County Republicans. You're not. Sheldon can't resist the snark, right? Yeah, he lived in California. Watch.
While we're living here, we want to make sure that we're really focused on the residents. And I'm not going to sit up here and say visa workers don't want to make a home here. To me, anybody who comes to Panama City Beach, the same way, we all came to Panama City Beach, we made it our home because we realize what this community has to offer. So I'm not going to say a visa worker doesn't want to make a home here because I wholeheartedly disagree with that statement. I think anybody who comes to Panama City Beach may want to find this as their family destination. And again, I think it goes to some of the things we talked about, which is building those relationships that matter, whether it's in Washington, D.C., and looking at the funding that you absolutely talked about, to say, how can we create a partnership with someone who wants to take the land that they have and potentially look at moving forward on building some affordable housing on it. Cost of land just continues to skyrocket in Panama City Beach. We've seen that. Everybody's property value has increased tremendously in the last 3 or 4 years. And therefore, the land value has increased drastically as well. So trying to find someone who wants to give some of that land up. We see one hotel on the west end of the beach now that used to be a church retreat. There's a business who owns that now who's using that for employee housing. I know Pineapple Willie, when he was alive, was looking to do the same thing. He was building employee housing. So we're seeing more companies, so they do have a workforce. So their workforce has a place to stay and live and be part of our community. When they're doing that, you look at the house, the church complex down here now, that's a hotel. They're paying bed tax revenue all the time for that. So it's an asset to the city, but at the same time, it's housing people who have the opportunity to do something. And just to speak on something Stuart had said before, that we can change people's restrictions. Bert Harris makes sure we can't just take somebody's land from them and change their zone. You know that from doing the job as well. You can't just tell somebody your land is commercial today and it's not tomorrow. That's not fair. It's not true, and government can't do that. Bert Harris Act confirms that.
Look at Sheldon's face. Look at that. That is amazing. What a lie he just told. And he knows he's lying because he used to be on the planning board. And he's lying because they do this all the time. This is such a great picture right there. Look at that. That's going to be the thumbnail. In fact, I should do this since that's going to be the thumbnail. Watch. All right, that's going to be the thumbnail. Look at Sheldon's face right there. So I can't really tell you what I know, but this is a serious race, and Sheldon knows it. And his puppet masters, the St. Joe Company, the big developers, they're freaking out, just like they did when Doc Rowan defeated Greg Brudnicki in Panama City, and just like they did in Mexico Beach when Michelle Miller defeated Al Cathy, the mayor in Mexico Beach, when they got $100 million. And Al Cathy, who also owned, they're the same. Al Cathy and Mark Sheldon, except Sheldon's big time. Al Cathy, he's more like Mike Thomas, just pats his belly and he doesn't think big enough. Al Cathy owns Ace Hardware. And while he was the mayor, he also got more than $500,000 of city money to Ace Hardware. Sheriff Tommy Ford knows this. The FBI knows this, but so far they don't think it's a big deal. The only people who do are the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee, who cannot believe what they're seeing over there in Mexico Beach. But look, I don't know if you can see Sheldon's face right there. I want to see what you are. Yeah, I want to see your thoughts on this. And please help me get the word out. If everybody knows, if the voters in Panama City Beach know what you just heard, that Mark Sheldon is like the governor of New York, He's about migrants first and hotels. I'm telling you, it's unbelievable what's going on in New York. The old legacy, famous, beautiful Roosevelt Hotel is now just a migrant shelter. They're about housing the workers to build the multi-use paths, to build more impervious surfaces and ruin our natural resources for the Biden administration's big money that they're giving out, the big federal grants, paths across America. With tens of millions of migrants, they've got to have a place to ride through the neighborhoods and through around your office buildings. Do you know on Beach Drive in Panama City where they are trying to do that, where they're trying to take the land from the owners on Beach Drive in Panama City, and they want to lay down the cement? Jenna Halligus is pushing for it. All of them are. Josh Street, because William Harrison says, whatever William Harrison says, he wants that multi-use path, spend other people's money on other people's property. And now the old Buccaneer restaurant, Arthur Cullen, the scumbag dumpster diver, campaign manager for Mark Sheldon and for Sheriff Tommy Ford. Sheriff Tommy Ford has Arthur Cullen as his campaign manager. I think so does State Attorney Larry Bassford. So scumbag Arthur Cullen, oh my God, his partner, Patel, is the developer. Arthur's not a developer, but they own the mugshot rag together. What's Patel's name again? They're the ones building. Patel's the one building. Guess what? They want a hotel to replace the Buccaneer or apartment buildings. But guess what? It's not for you. It's not for the owners even of the property. They want to take Beach Drive, pave it, put wrought iron bike racks, and have the migrants riding up and down and put beer stands and hot dog stands there. That's what Mark Sheldon's. That's, and I'll tell you what, enough voters knew it in Panama City that Doc Rowan is the mayor. Will enough voters in Panama City Beach know what you just heard? I'm going to play it again. I love what you said, Ms. Sarah Moon. Sheldon did not really answer the question about affordable housing, did he? But he did respond to Stuart Tettemer, which is what he's been doing. And that means Stuart Tettemer is in the dominant position in this race. April 16th is election day. Early voting starts on the 8th at the Senior Center, Lindell Senior Center. Here's what else I learned. Hold on. All right, here's what else I learned. Did you know that first of all, I think there are like 15 or 16,000 registered voters in Panama City Beach, but only about 3,000 or maybe 3,500, possibly 4,000 are going to actually cast their votes because it's April 16th. I'll bet you it's going to be 30. Let's see if my numbers are right. It's going to be 3,400 plus whatever out-of-towners vote, because these guys always get out-of-towners to vote for them. That's part of their game they play. Mark Anderson doesn't like it either. We've talked about it. But it's out of his jurisdiction. So you get people voting in Tennessee and here. People who's homesteaded in another state vote in the Panama City Beach elections for these guys. It's kind of like what we saw 4 years ago. But I don't want to get into that right now either. Let me look at your comments. I really want to know what you have to say about this. Okay, let me see. Let's see what. This is a banner. Yeah, that's right. That's it. Dhruv Patel, who owns Vibes. That's right. He owns. So I want you to hear me. The guy who is the campaign manager for Sheriff Tommy Ford and for Mark Sheldon, his name is Arthur Cullen. Look him up. His partner, they own the mugshot rag together, Patel and Cullen. Cullen owns nothing, but this is how they take care of him because he's a very good campaign manager. So his partner in the mugshot rag, he owns Vibes. And Sheriff Ford has a little game he plays with him. He pretends that he doesn't like Vibes, but he uses his campaign manager as a partner with the guy who owns Vibes. Sheriff Tommy Ford's campaign manager, Arthur Cullen, it's crazy. If you look at Lynn Haven, this is wild, man. This is wild what I'm about to tell you. So, you know about Police Chief Ricky Ramey in Lynn Haven, right? Used to work with Sheriff Tommy Ford. They're very good friends, which is why Tommy Ford allows him to break the law all the time. Hit and run, no big deal, that kind of stuff. So Ricky Ramey posted on the police, Lynn Haven police page today, made a post on Facebook. And the post said, please don't run from the police. Don't try to, if you're going to get a ticket, he says, don't try to evade the police because they're probably going to find you anyway in the end. Says the guy who 3 months ago was involved in a hit and run and was arrested for it. And he's still the police chief. Now, that's not a lack of self-awareness. That's a poke in the eye. That's saying, that's just taunting and mocking you. You can't do anything about me. I can break the law. Sheriff Tommy Ford likes it. But Sheriff Tommy Ford's current campaign manager, Arthur Cullen, in 2005 or so, 2004, maybe something like that. I've got the video. If I had it pulled up, I'd show it to you. There is a police badge, a police dash cam. Arthur Cullen ran from the police in his vehicle. There was a high-speed chase of Arthur Cullen. He used to be the president of the Bay County Republican Party when he was like 25 years old. And he was arrested. And then that's on video of him trying to speed and outrun the cop. Panama City Police. Then when he gets to the police station, there's cameras in the police station and Arthur Cullen's sitting there rubbing his forehead, trying to talk the cop out of, being arrested or whatever. I guess he was arrested. And he all but threatened the cop because he's got connections. See, that's Tommy Ford, Sheriff Tommy Ford's campaign manager and best friends. Is that crazy? All right, let's see what you guys are saying. Will the people vote? It's a good question. All right, I'm going to show this one more time. It's not very long, and I'm not going to talk over it, but boy, Sheldon's face is just killing me.
There are areas
Okay, let's go back.
Highway 79 that I'm sure everyone has seen.
Hold on, let me, I think it starts right about here.
Those visa workers, good folks.
Here we go.
When it's convenient for the city. When it's inconvenient for the city, let me tell you, they are quite active in stopping things. Thank you.
We were just talking about development and you touched on the affordable housing issues a little bit. You both know it's coming with not just a problem, extreme problem to be able to have the workers we need and support families in the area. What would you do to expand opportunities for affordable housing? Would you consider greater use of Sadowski funds or possibly working with developers to provide some additional housing opportunities?
Okay, so that's Scott Clemens, the former, he's the former mayor of Panama City. I know you couldn't really hear that, but he says, consider our shortage of workers. Would you consider working with developers so that we can have affordable housing for the workers, for the migrant workers? That's the question. And here are their answers.
This is around the U.S. and the affordable housing issue is a problem across this country. When you put below market housing, what happens is you end up having a lottery and it just fills up. That's part of having this experience, means that I've seen these issues and I've seen them attempted to be addressed throughout the nation, and I've seen what works and what doesn't. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the best thing that works is making sure we have good year-round jobs here. One of the big issues we have is we have a big peak of a tourist season, which means we only have temporary jobs here. Those temporary jobs used to be filled by high school students. Now we see them mostly filled by visa workers. Those visa workers, good folks, you know, they're trying to make some money and send it back home, but they are not trying to build a life here. They're here for a little while.
Look at Sheldon's face.
We have more year-round jobs that will allow us to have folks be able to afford the homes here. The other thing is making sure that we're not increasing assessments. The fire assessment has gone up. Taxes have gone up. Don't let anyone tell you that taxes have gone down. You see it in your tax bill. It's just a talking point. So keeping assessments low and avoiding overdevelopment in terms of building tons of city infrastructure that we are going to have to pay to maintain for 10, 20, 30 years. It feels really nice to get a grant to bring that infrastructure in, but if you don't have the revenue to maintain that infrastructure, you're setting up a time bomb that maybe you as a politician won't have to take care of, but the people who live here will.
So this is fascinating. So just so you know, Sheldon has never won an election. Well, what am I talking about? Yes, he did. He beat 4 years ago. He beat Josie Strange, the former vice mayor, a very nice lady, and somebody with a servant's heart. But he had the machine behind him. Okay, but that was at the peak of COVID. It was March and April of 2020. So he really has not campaigned against somebody who's knocking on doors, who has got the endorsement of the Bay County Republicans. Stuart Tettemer does, because they understand Sheldon is a crony. He is a rhino. He's a DC corporate big development guy. He's a migrant workers in the hotels to get bed tax money to pay his Gulf Coast Jam, which he's gotten more than $10 million, well over $10 million, to the companies that run Gulf Coast Jam, which he owns. Conflicts of interest all over the place. And he is not happy. Check it out. Here's his answer. If you haven't heard this yet, you're not going to believe it. Sheldon is migrants first, big developers first. Look at this. Look at the body language. I love this.
Thank you, Scott. Again, a good question from the standpoint that we understand the affordable housing crisis. Again, I know Stuart lived in California, you probably saw it a lot out there. While we're living here, we want to make sure that we're really focused on the residents. And I'm not going to sit up here and say visa workers don't want to make a home here. To me, anybody who comes to Panama City Beach, the same way, you know, we all came to Panama City Beach, we made it our home because we realize what this community has to offer. So I'm not going to say a visa worker doesn't want to make a home here, because I wholeheartedly disagree with that statement. I think anybody who comes to Panama City Beach may want to find this as their family destination. And again, I think it goes to some of the things we talked about, which is building those relationships that matter, whether it's in Washington, D.C., and looking at the funding that you absolutely talked about, to say, how can we create a partnership with someone who wants to take the land that they have and potentially look at moving forward on building some affordable housing on it. Cost of land just continues to skyrocket in Panama City Beach. We've seen that. Everybody's property value has increased tremendously in the last 3 or 4 years. And therefore, the land value has increased drastically as well. So trying to find someone who wants to give some of that land up. We see one hotel on the west end of the beach now that used to be a church retreat. There's a business who owns that now who is using that for employee housing. I know Pineapple Willie, when he was alive, was looking to do the same thing. He was building employee housing. So we're seeing more companies, so they do have a workforce. So the workforce has a place to stay and live and be part of our community. You know, when they're doing that, you look at the house, the church complex down here now, that's a hotel. They're paying bed tax revenue all the time for that. So it's an asset to the city, but at the same time, it's housing people who have the opportunity to do something. And just to speak on something Stuart had said before, that we can change people's restrictions, you know, Bert Harris, make sure we can't just take somebody.
All right. So what he's talking about there is a different issue, but I want to show you something about, if you don't know, I keep talking about Sheldon's conflict of interest. About 2 or 3 years ago, I made I did a story on it, and I'm going to show it to you. I'm going to skip forward a little bit. I'm going to show you the beginning, then I'm going to skip forward so you don't have to sit through some of the stuff that was going on 3 years ago. But I got the numbers wrong. I said he was getting paid $735,000 a year to market Gulf Coast Jam. And he was, what I didn't know at the time is he was also getting about $735,000 to operate Gulf Coast Jam. So he was getting about $1.5 million a year of bed money. So when you hear me say $735,000 a year for his companies to run Sand Jam and Gulf Coast Jam, I was wrong by half. But here, let me show you this video. Every voter needs to see this, and I'll make it easy to show just this video. But here you go. Take a look at this. Mark Sheldon is the big concert promoter for the city of Panama City Beach. The Tourist Development Council pays his company more than $700,000 a year to market his own music festivals. He's also the mayor. Last week, the council voted unanimously to extend his Sand Jam concert for 5 more years. But here's the kicker. The city also guaranteed that Mayor Sheldon would be in charge of the music festivals, even if he sells them to a big corporate entity for millions of dollars. It's known as the key person provision, and now it's part of the contract. All right. I've argued that it's a conflict of interest for a mayor of any city to get paid tax money to promote his own concerts. Most voters disagreed with me. After all, Mark Sheldon's been doing this stuff for a long time. Here he is in Alabama about a decade ago. He worked for this man, Ronnie Gilly. Mark Sheldon was the registered agent for Ronnie Gilly Properties, and he was Gilly's chief operating officer. Soon afterward, there was a public corruption sting, and Ronnie Gilly went to prison for nearly 7 years.
We're absolutely excited. I mean, the project that Ronnie's put together is phenomenal. It's hiring and employing a lot of local folks, a lot of people that haven't been to having a job for a little while. Obviously, the economy stuff, and there's people that was just, on the job site this morning, and a man telling me, thank Mr. Gilly, I haven't had a job in 4 months. So it's great to see people that are actually from our local area getting the opportunity to go to work again, and that's everything that Ronnie's done for it. It's an amazing project.
The year before Ronnie Gilly was busted, Mark Sheldon served on a public board that voted to buy 52 acres of land for country crossing improvements. Oh, and they voted to buy the land from Ronnie Gilly himself. You can see Mark Sheldon here orchestrating the yeses.
For the 5 board members present in order to proceed with today's meeting.
This is another meeting. Just before it's called to order, he whispers something to a fellow board member. That's Chuck Taylor, the CFO for Ronnie Gilly. He did all the accounting, and they're about to vote.
All right.
Maybe he's not like that anymore. At any rate, Mark Sheldon escaped the dragnet in Alabama, spruced up his image, and came to Panama City Beach.
Please do not miss the official city Christmas tree put up by the Tourist Development Council. This year, the official tree is in the open area of the municipal complex in front of City Hall, and it's visible from Back Beach Road. There's parking if you want to get a family photo with a tree and the 12 reindeer out front.
In 2015, the Tourist Development Council gave him $1.7 million to start up the music festivals here, and they pay his annual marketing budget, $750,000. They set it up to split the profits. 2 of his fellow councilmen now serve on the TDC. That's where they vote to keep the money flowing. Then they come back to the council, where they just made sure that even if Mayor Sheldon sells his concerts to a big corporation, he's still the head honcho.
Nice work if you can get it.
It's fine work.
And you can get it if you try.
I got connections.
I'll say he's got connections. Anyway, important stuff I wanted you to know about. I cannot believe that Mayor Sheldon said the quiet part out loud. His priority is building hotels to get bed tax money that funds his Gulf Coast Jam so that they can have so that they can house the migrants. It's the migrants, the workers that they need to put in hotels and have connecting paths that go behind your home and near your businesses. They pretend it is for you to get healthy, but it's not for you to get healthy. It's so they can have the bicycles and take the jobs that our high school kids used to have and pay them a lot more. And what does that mean? That means the price of everything goes up. Part of the issue is inflation, which has to do with too many dollars chasing too few goods, the constant printing of money. That's one issue. You say, Bernie, if they print money, I mean, how does that make the value go down? I'll tell you how. Let's say that you bought a lithograph, a painting. All right, you go to an art store and there's a beautiful painting and it's number 43. It says number 43. There's only 100 of these made, right? And you buy it for $1,000 and it's going to go up in value, right? Over time. There's only 100 made. And then you find out a few years later that they printed another 200 or 300 of these things. Do you think the value of that lithograph goes up or down? It's the same thing that happens with $1. So there's that issue. But there's also the issue of mandating higher wages. Like in California, they're going to be paying fast food workers $20 an hour. That means the price to buy fast food, you say, I wouldn't eat fast food. Oh, okay. All right. But it's gone up like 80%. These restaurants, Wendy's it's like 86%. Have you noticed that when you go to a fast food restaurant? These are the reasons why. And it's people like the Mark Sheldons and the Mitt Romneys and the Jeb Bushes that are making it happen. I cannot believe that he said the relationships that matter, like in Washington, D.C. Boy, did he take a truth serum before he did the debate against Stuart Tettemer or what? Can you see why? The Bay County Republican Party endorsed Stuart Tettemer? All right, I told you if you want to know more, that's where you can find out more, a lot more about Stuart Tettemer. Somebody made a comment on my Facebook page, said, wow, the more I read about Stuart Tettemer, the more I realize how accomplished this guy is. I have sat and talked to him on many occasions. He's a software engineer, right? So certainly I know more about government. I've been studying government for a quarter of a century, right? Not really. I rarely sit down with somebody and feel like, my favorite guy in the world is Thomas Sowell. He's pushing 90. The economist, the prolific author, the great philosopher who one of the three people who most shaped my philosophy over the years, over the decades. And I'm talking to Stuart Tettemer about him, and he brings up, Conflict of Interest, the book. I said, oh, yeah, you've read it too? And he starts telling me about it, things I don't even remember. Like, this dude's unbelievable, Stuart Tettemer. He understands merit. He understands value. He understands the importance of legacy, of beauty, of history. So if voters want to preserve the legacy and the rare dune lakes like Lowwater Lake, if they want to make sure that there's no drilling in the Gulf to discharge stormwater that they are going to bring from the wetlands above Back Beach Road so that they can dry it out for the St. Joe developments that the workers, the migrants, need the hotels for. I mean, this is an election where you have one path goes to the multi-use paths, hotels, migrant workers first, DC mentality, cronyism worse than any place you can imagine, or a guy who understands stuff, a guy who has accomplished and earned a hell of a living by the age of 40 because of his merit and his talents, not because of bed tax money. One path goes this way and one path goes that way. Boy, I hope that you inform people, because this is a real race. And we might have another mayor in Bay County that the big developers just cannot handle, like Michelle Miller and like Doc Rowan, who say, actually, it's not migrants and hotel developers first. It's just not. It's you first. Thank you to the Unknown Patriot for your support. It means so much to me. I couldn't do what I do without crowdfunding. Those of you who throw a tip in the tip jar, those of you who sponsor the show. You say, Bernie, I'd like to sponsor the show, but I don't want to put my name on it. Well, neither does the Unknown Patriot. And you can do the same thing if you'd like to support my efforts. And I'll continue to do the best I can to tell you the truth, while everybody else, not everybody, but the news outlets that are public-private partners with Mayor Mark Sheldon, that money he gets goes toward marketing, and he pays, I believe he pays the parent companies of the local news outlets, which is why the local news outlets won't ever actually report the news to you. That's how easy some people sell their souls, sell their craft, sell their country and their community down the river. As Miss Sarah Moon taught me, it is usually your own people who screw you over the most. Am I right or wrong? Is she right or wrong? You better say she's right. I'm telling you, you better say she's right. She's a Scorpio, see? She doesn't play. And those of you who throw a tip in the tip jar, it matters more than you know. As little as $5 a month by becoming a patron. Thank you, patrons. Thank you, patrons. Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. It's easy. It's anonymous. And you can quit at any time. You know, at the end of the show as well, I always play that outro that shows the PayPal. If you ever say, Bernie, I just want to contribute to your efforts too. Look, it's the crowdfunding. This is not a normal business model. And all I can sell you that you can buy is the truth. And a few laughs, I think. Just a few laughs. All right. I'll see you again very soon.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at. Right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.